rectangle. Now it does kind of look a little like a square. Don't let that throw you off. It is a rectangle. If they say it is, we have to trust that it is. They tell us that angle, and then they tell us xz is 12, so that's all the way across. So this whole thing is 12. If that whole line is 12, remember that it does break up into 2 equal pieces in a rectangle, so I'm going to write 6 and 6 here. Alright, so let's start with wxz. So up here, how do I know what that value is? If I know this is a rectangle. How do I find this little angle if I know that's a rectangle? Yep.
The angle x is 90 degrees.
Yep, so this whole thing is 90. So if that one is 50, this has to be 40. WPX, so that's here. Any thoughts on how to find that? Yeah.
Would it be 90 degrees?
It's not 90 in a rectangle. It is in a square or a rhombus, but not necessarily in a rectangle. So it is not 90 this time. Kind of looks like it, so that might be what's throwing you off. It's close.
It's 100.
It's 100. And the reason for that is this is 40. This is also 40 because this has to be 50. The rectangle has a lot of grim parts here. So if these two are 40, this has to add up to 180. So that leaves that as 100. Very good. So again, this is 40. This is 40. So this has to be 100 because they have to add up to 180. PY. What do I know about the diagonals of rectangles? They're going to be equal. So yep, it's also 6. Very good. And then WX. So they want that. So essentially they want, so we have this is 6, this is 6, they want that. Now that I see, I'll show you guys this one. This would be another big bonus question. So if this is 12, the 6 and 6, they want this. This should really, oh no, it's not. We have to do trig again. Don't worry about it, we'll skip that one. So you would end up having to do sine or cosine to find x in that case again. So again, that would be a bonus question. And then they ask us about a square here. So they tell us EH is 5. They want us to find everything else, but this one's a square. I know that's 5, just like in the last one. All of these are 5. But this time the diagonals do what? What's the intersection look like? 90 degrees. So these are all 90 here in the center. So GHF is going to be 90. DGH. So if I have, sorry.
45.
Those are 45, 45, 90s then, yep, in a triangle. They want to know HF, that's going to be 5, and then DE. So this value, this one you don't necessarily need trig for, but you would need Pythagorean theorem. So we can do 5 squared plus 5 squared is going to give us x squared, because this is a little right triangle here. Now Pythagorean theorem is not out of the question for the test. So it's going to be 50 equals x squared, so it's going to be 7 point something. 7.1 maybe. 5 squared to 2. Right. Then in 8.5, we talked about our kites and trapezoids. In trapezoids, I'm gonna throw in our little formula. The mid-segment is B1 plus B2 divided by 2. Don't forget about that rule that shows up there. Alright, so they give us this drawing here, and they tell us B is 73. We know it's a trapezoid because of the parallel lines. What's C going to be then? What's C going to be? 107, because they should add up to 180 together. So 107. So it asks us, can we find the value of angle A? Do we know what A is? For sure, do we know what A is? No, we don't necessarily know that this is an isosceles trapezoid. If it's just a regular trapezoid, A and B don't have to be equal. So at this point, since we don't know if it's isosceles, we can't find A. So we don't know if it's isosceles, so we can't assume that it also has to be 73. However, the next question is asking us to find the mid-segment. So they tell us AB is 28, DC is 13, and they want us to find EF. So that's that mid-segment formula where I add them together and divide by 2. So 28 and 13, and then divide by 2. So I get 41 divided by 2, so that'll be 20.5. They can also do this with a little bit of algebra. So now they give us other information here. So this time, instead, they tell us EF is 20.5. They give us AB is 6x minus 1, and DC is 27. So this is just an algebra problem using that mid-segment idea, where I have to add the bases together and divide by 2, and it should equal the mid-segment. So it's a little bit different than, I don't know if we did this actually in the homework at all, but I think it's doable for you guys. So I took the bases, added together, divided by 2, and it should equal, well I guess, yeah, it should equal the mid-segment. Now the mid-segment happens to be the same as what it was over there. But so in order to solve this, I could either choose to divide these by 2, or I could just get rid of the 2 and multiply by 2. And this will be 41 over here. So this will be what did I do?
Did you forget the minus 1?
What's that? I put these together and made that 26. Right? And this will be 15. I think it's just a decimal then. So you guys see something else I did wrong? I don't know. So x is 15 over 6, or 5 over 2, or 2.5. I think. Yeah. Okay. And the last couple questions are about kites. They ask for the values of W and T in this first one. Now remember that in a kite, you know that the opposite angles are equal. One set of opposite angles are equal. So hopefully you notice that E and T would have to be equal. So T would also have to be 1/13. So then I just have to find W, and I know the fact that they all add up to 360. So I can add those up and take them away from 360. So I get 97 for X or W. next one here asks us for the perimeter of the kite. What's the perimeter? What are they talking about when they talk about perimeter? All the way around. So that means we need to know all the sides of our kite. Now, in a kite, there's two equal sides. Hopefully you notice the fact that those two are equal, these are the two equal sides here, and then these two are going to be equal. How can I find those distances? How can I find like QP or PS? What do I use? So like this is the answer to everything in geometry. What should you use?
A squared plus B squared.
Yeah, you can use Pythagorean theorem to find this value, and these should be the same, because these are little right triangles because of the way a kite intersects its diagonals. So we can do 6 squared plus 11 squared will give me c squared, and that'll give me those two values. Which is about 12.5. It's like the square root of 157. And then I can go on these sides, let's just call those like d. And do 6 squared plus 14 squared will equal d squared. And that's going to be about 15.2. And then I just have to add those all together to find our perimeter. Thank you so much. So the perimeter ends up being like 55.5-ish, maybe a little bit more, 55.4. All right. So homework is listed there for you guys. I believe it's online. Let me know if it's not. And so test tomorrow.